So this will be our second video, and this is going to be on terrestrial biomes. And you're going to see a lot of words on a lot of slides, and don't panic. I want you to kind of get the big gist of what's going on here, not so much all the little tiny details. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through and look at terrestrial biomes. Okay, a biome is kind of a bigger term, and it was, I think, introduced in our earlier hierarchy that we did. And it's usually, they're identified by rainfall and temperature, and then some plant and animal communities, but typically they're identified mostly by the plant communities because they're easier to look at, I suppose. Animals are a bit harder to find. And each biome is not uniform. So we might talk about the desert, but the desert has sandy desert, it has cactus deserts, there's the oases, there are washes, all of these things make up that desert biome. So just to give you an idea that, again, not necessarily uniform. And then some terms I want you to know is the ecotone is kind of an area between two different biomes. And so our two ecosystems. So that would be a good area. And then there's called the edge effect. Ecotones are where you want to head if you're looking for lots of species. Biologists know this. If you're going out and you want to find kind of a hot spot where you can find a lot of species, you go to the ecotones because you're going to get individual species from each of the two ecosystems or biomes that you're sitting in between. So that definitely is the time to go. All right, and so here's kind of an overview kind of the different terrestrial biomes there are out there. And so we're going to go over these real quickly and just kind of mention some, not all, but kind of give you a general, and this is often taught in the general bio class, but probably a good idea for you to see these. So we'll start with the desert. And what I want you to know about the desert in general is that they're not all, there's a lot out there. You know, people think there's not a lot of diversity in the desert. There is. The extreme conditions cause plants and animals to adapt. And so you get a lot of variability. And so here up on top, first picture might be the one that everybody kind of thinks about when you see desert. But this will be the Arizona desert, but more of what our deserts look like, very shrub-like, lots of cactus, succulents, and then maybe something on the bottom is more cold desert up north or down in South America. But anyway, so what I do want you to know is kind of the key here, less than 10 inches of rain a year. That seems to be kind of the rule of thumb. And so a cold desert would get most of their precipitation in the form of snow. But again, less than 10 inches of rain a year is kind of the definition. And again, cactus is a good indicator. We think of rattlesnakes and lots of reptiles because of the heat. So good indicators. All right, grasslands. This biome is characterized by large seasonal temperature variations. So a lot of these organisms that, at least the animals here, will migrate in and out. Precipitation or rain varies quite a bit in these areas. So depending on the amount of rainfall will determine the plant communities. You get grasslands, things like savannas will have more trees, and that's typically because they get more rain. But not a lot of tree cover in a grassland situation. And unfortunately, these are disappearing because they are easily tilled and used for crop. All right, the tundra. What I want you to know for this one, I don't even think the word is in there. Probably should have been. The boreal forest, which we haven't talked about, but the tundra is kind of above the tree line. So we have an Arctic tundra, and and we think of that like in Alaska and what have you. But technically, there's also like the alpine tundra, which will go up above in the mountain ranges where it stops the tree lines. And Mount San Antonio, not the college, the actual mountain, is an example of that, which is why it has this nickname. Mount Baldy, and that is because there's no tree growth on the very top. And again, that would be a tundra. But the key here I want you to do, and the word I don't know if I said, and I don't see it in there, so you might want to write down permafrost. And that is where the ground in the tundra doesn't actually ever thaw out. So very, very fast growing cycle. I mean, you have to, the growing cycle is very short. So plants have to really kind of do all their things very, very quickly. So you get these mass explosions of populations of plants and insects and things like that. So anyway, so tundra, permafrost. Tropical rainforest. So this ton of rain, over 50 inches a year, even maybe more, up to 110. And very little variation, usually upper 70s, low 80s in temperature. Many layers. And so you have tree layer, sub-tree layer, all kinds of, up to 6, depending on who you talk to. Not that that's all that important. But what I want you to know, this covers about 2% of the world's landmass and has over 50% of all species. So this is where our biodiversity really is located. And unfortunately, one of the areas that we're disappearing very, very quickly. Temperate deciduous forests, these are deciduous means leaf falling off. These are mid-latitudes. This is what the eastern United States pretty much look like. And so again, layers, maybe not quite as much as a tropical forest, maybe 3, maybe 4 layers, and lots of undergrowth underneath, because when the trees lose their leaves, there's the ability for the sunlight to get down, although that's usually in the cooler areas. But anyway, deciduous tropical forest. And then the northern coniferous forest is what your book calls it. It's really considered to be the taiga. For this one, you want to really consider to be cold winters for sure, and short, cool summers even. This is usually the mountain ranges. These are the pine trees. This is, you see pine tree, you want to think of taiga. Taiga is the example of that. And then I did want to separate these out. They don't really talk about this in the book real well, and that is the chaparral and coastal sage scrub, because this is actually what is here in Southern California. And I will tell you that chaparral is kind of a general term that lots of people use. And in California, we break chaparral into also coastal sage scrub. If you're back east, they would usually call our coastal sage scrub soft chaparral. So there's a hard chaparral and soft. The hard chaparral or chaparral in Southern California tends to be a little bit higher up in elevation, and the coastal sage scrub goes a bit lower all the way down to the coast. And these are hot, dry summers, cold, wet winter, cooler, wet winters. It is known for fires, known for droughts. That's where we live. That's where we put our houses, and that's where things burn. And actually, this is what we call a fire-adapted community, and it is meant to burn. It is actually designed that it knows that it's going to frequently burn, and that cycle is about kind of 10 to 15 years normally. So coastal sage. All right, and then just to let you know, about 60% of terrestrial ecosystems are degraded or used unsustainably. And I'm not going to go over this, but you can read through what we're actually doing and why and how each one is being kind of destroyed. We have got to take a better view. We have got to stop using it for just one species. And it'll be very hard, but we definitely need to become more sustainable. And so the last is a healthy and stable economy and a healthy environment are inseparable goals. We have got to stop thinking about just making money. We have got to become more environmental, and we've got to try to incorporate this stuff into the way we live. And until we do, we are going to continue to see degradation and a lower quality of life for you and for your children. And so we will stop the recording.